name is Hannes Nel, and I will explain to you how to write the first chapter of your thesis or dissertation in this video. Most universities will allow you to choose your own name for your first chapter. However, it can simply be Introduction. You can also choose a more descriptive name of the contents of the chapter. For example, Contextualizing your study. Some universities may even allow you to insert a preface before your first chapter. You should check with your university before you add a separate preface to your thesis or dissertation. For the sake of clarity, I will share a few thoughts on the preface nearer to the end of this video. Each chapter in your thesis or dissertation should have its own introduction, but that is not what I will discuss here, so don't get confused. Writing the first chapter is the launch pad for writing a thesis or dissertation. It points the writing process in the direction that it should go and explains what your research project should achieve. The following are possible section headings for your first chapter. To begin with an introduction to the chapter, it might be confusing to add an introduction to a chapter called Introduction, but that should not be a serious problem. You can discuss the following issues in the introduction to the first chapter: your problem statement, problem question or hypothesis. You can also clarify the problem statement, problem question or hypothesis. You can offer background information on the field in which the study will be conducted. You should narrow the scope of your research down to a viable target group or target area. You can explain why the problem or hypothesis is important. You should introduce and develop the topic for your research. You can also introduce the title for your thesis or dissertation here. Then you should have your statement of objectives. You should break the purpose down into objectives and the objectives into sub-objectives or tasks. This breakdown can be useful for preparing questions for interviews or questionnaires that you will use for data collection. Next, you can have a heading for definitions of related concepts. Concepts and words are often used differently by different academics. It will sometimes be difficult to determine what the right meanings are. Therefore, determine as accurately as you possibly can what the true meanings of the concepts and words are, and then explain how you will use them. You can also have a heading for the motivation of your study. You need to explain why you wish to investigate the problem of your choice. Your next heading can be current knowledge of the problem. Most universities will not even allow you to enroll for master's or PhD studies if you cannot show that you have enough prior knowledge of the topic of your research. The next heading can be potential benefits of the research. You will need to explain who will benefit from your research as well as how they will benefit. This can be integrated with your motivation for the study. You can also discuss ethical issues. You need to conduct your research and write your report in a manner that will be acceptable to any reasonable person and that does not transgress any legislation, rules or regulations. The university will require you to confirm in writing that this is the case. The next heading can be the structure of your study. The structure of your research will depend on the university requirements, the research approach, research methods, paradigms, data collection methods and data analysis methods that you will use. Your personal style will also play a role in deciding how you will collect data for your research. And lastly, you need to have a summary for Chapter 1. Each of your chapters should have an introduction and a summary. You can add conclusions and recommendations that you gained from the chapter here. Cutting and pasting sections from the body of your chapter is not a summary, it is an extract. Even so, the summary should not contain new information. It will therefore be unlikely that you will acknowledge sources in your summary. You should summarize your chapter in such a way that all the important facts and arguments are given in a concise manner. Lastly, let's look at the preface, should you use one. Some universities will allow you to include a preface before your first chapter. You will probably write the preface only after you have written your thesis or dissertation. Or you can write the preface while you are writing your thesis or dissertation. A preface is usually a combination of disparate elements necessary for the clarification of aspects of the work, but not necessarily concerned with the development of arguments. A preface will probably consist of 3 distinct parts: a general presentation of the research problem, the purpose of the research, and stating your position in terms of your capacity and limitations to do the research. All of this can also be included in the first chapter. Be careful not to use the preface to rationalize. Do not use the preface to make excuses for not submitting quality work. If that is the case, no preface can save you. Your study leader and external examiners will see that your work is not up to standard. You may wish or need to supply information on the historical or literary background of your research topic, intellectual climate and biographical material relevant to a fuller understanding and appreciation of the research material. Do not use the preface to put the blame for your challenges on your family, your employer, study leader, the university, or anything else in the world. In summary, the first chapter of your thesis or dissertation prepares the reader for the scientific argumentation and evaluation of the information that you will gather and analyze. You should use the first chapter to contextualize your study. It explains the importance of your research topic, how you will investigate the problem or hypothesis that you formulated, the area and target group for your research, and what your research project should achieve. Although you will need to show what you expect to achieve, you need to guard against showing that you have already decided what the results of your research will be. You need to be objective and conduct research with an open mind. Some universities will allow you to include a preface before your first chapter. The best way to write your preface is to write it while you write your thesis or dissertation. You can go back to the preface when you think of something that you desperately need to write, but that does not fit into the structure and layout of your thesis or dissertation. Do not use the preface for anything that might damage your end product. In closing, you can send me an email if you have questions on postgraduate research. Make your own luck with your studies. Thank you.